This is the Vivo V20 Pro and it features a Snapdragon 765G 5G SoC and is also priced just under 30,000 rupees, which actually makes it a direct competitor to the OnePlus Nord. Now, Vivo claims that this is the slimmest 5G phone in its segment, and there's obviously a lot of emphasis given to the design and the cameras. So, should you really buy this over the OnePlus Nord? Stick with me till the end of this review to find out. Now, before we begin, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and also hit that bell icon so you're the first to know whenever we have a new video. The Vivo V20 Pro looks more or less identical to the Vivo V20. It's slightly shorter but just as wide and relatively slim. Now the patterns created on this sunset melody colorway when light hits the back panel looks very funky. Vivo has used a matte finish back made from Corning Gorilla Glass 5, so it doesn't pick up fingerprints easily and it should also offer good protection against scratches. It's also light at just 170 grams thanks to the plastic frame, which feels quite sturdy. The power button on the right has a textured finish, making it easy to identify by touch. The rounded edges of the frame make the V20 Pro comfortable to hold and use with one hand. Now the SIM tray is placed at the bottom, but unlike the V20 Pro does not have a hybrid tray or even a dedicated slot for a micro SD card. The display on the V20 Pro is a 6.44-inch Full HD Plus AMOLED panel with Short's scratch protective glass. Colors are rich, it gets very bright, and there's HDR support too. Now videos look great on the Vivo V20 Pro thanks to the vivid AMOLED panel. HDR videos on YouTube as well play smoothly, but some streaming apps such as Netflix fail to detect the display as an HDR capable one. The volume level of the speaker also could have been a little better, especially when you're listening to media outdoors, but overall I found the sound quality to be quite average. Now the lack of a high refresh rate display is a bit jarring, especially if you're coming from a phone with, let's say, a 90Hz panel, but otherwise the experience is good. Then there's the notch. Now due to the second selfie camera, the V20 Pro now has a wider notch, which makes it look a little old-fashioned. Ideally, a dual hole punch cutout would have been a better choice here. Overall, the V20 Pro is a well-built and a good-looking smartphone. It is a bit lighter than the OnePlus Nord, which does make it easier to handle with one hand. The Qualcomm Snapdragon 765G in the Vivo V20 Pro gives this phone a much-needed performance upgrade. Real-world app performance and multitasking are handled very well. Now the Vivo V20 Pro is also a good phone for gaming since it can handle even demanding titles fairly well without overheating. The usual heavy hitters such as Call of Duty Mobile ran very well and gameplay was smooth. My V20 Pro unit shipped with Android 10, but I did receive the Android 11 update during the review period. Now this is one area where the V20 Pro is a little ahead of the OnePlus Nord, which is still on Android 10 at least at the time of this review. FunTouch OS 11 on the Vivo V20 Pro is packed to the gills with shortcuts and plenty of customization options, but it also has quite a bit of bloatware in the form of third-party apps and games, which thankfully can be uninstalled or at least removed from the home screen. I'm also glad to note that ads and spammy notifications from Vivo's first-party apps aren't really a big problem. Now the Vivo V20 Pro boasts of pretty impressive camera specifications for its price. You get a dual selfie camera setup and you can see the specs on the screen now. Now Vivo boasts of eye autofocus on the main selfie camera on the V20 Pro, and it does work pretty well for both stills and videos. It's pretty quick to lock onto your eye and it doesn't let go even if your frame changes. Now, while this doesn't necessarily improve details in photos and videos, you do get good sharpness when you're shooting selfies, and also there's a good depth to the background, which is simply not possible with a fixed focus selfie camera. Now compared to the OnePlus Nord, the Vivo V20 Pro's primary front camera captures a much warmer color tone, which doesn't look too natural, but many people would find this appealing. HDR also works well and backlit backgrounds are also properly exposed. Now the ultra-wide camera is useful for group selfies, but details are slightly poorer compared to the shots taken with the main camera. Low light selfies are very usable as long as there's a decent amount of ambient light. Now you can even use night mode for selfies, a feature that's missing on the OnePlus Nord. The Vivo V20 Pro supports 4K 60fps videos from the front camera, which look very good on the phone's display. However, I did notice that when watching these same videos on a laptop, the colors tend to look a little off. The ultra-wide front camera can only shoot up to 1080p and the quality is noticeably weaker. In this respect, the OnePlus Nord's ultra-wide camera does a slightly better job with videos, the quality is a bit better and you can also record up to 4K 30fps. Now you get a 64 megapixel primary rear camera along with two other cameras for which you can see the specs on the screen. Now do note here that the wide-angle camera has autofocus, so it can double up as the macro camera as well, which is nice to see. Colors look a bit boosted, but you do get plenty of details in landscape shots when using the primary camera. Close-ups also pack in excellent detail with good sharpness and colors. If you're close enough to a subject, the camera will also automatically switch to the 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera for a macro shot. Portrait mode works very well and you can add style and beauty filters along with adjusting the level of background blur. In low light, night mode works very well in preserving details and maintaining good exposure. This works on the ultra-wide angle camera too. For videos, the quality is good in daylight and stabilization works too. However, there is a noticeable jitter in the footage in low light due to this electronic stabilization. Now, other than this hiccup, I would say the cameras overall on the V20 Pro offer fairly reliable performance. Now, compared to the OnePlus Nord, the V20 Pro does capture slightly sharper selfies and it does offer slightly more interesting shooting modes. However, the OnePlus Nord does have the edge when it comes to overall video performance. Now, the Vivo V20 Pro features a 4000 mAh battery which lasts for a little more than 16 hours in our HD video loop test, which is more than what the OnePlus Nord managed. You also get 33-watt fast charging, so the V20 Pro can be charged up to roughly 93% in an hour. Now, with my typical usage, I was easily able to use the phone for about a day and a half and sometimes even a bit more. The Vivo V20 Pro is a solid offering and one that competes fairly well with the OnePlus Nord. Features such as 5G, 4K 60fps selfie video recording, the crisp AMOLED display and quick charging helps this phone put up a strong fight against the Nord. However, the V20 Pro does fall a bit short on the value front. For its asking price of nearly 30,000 rupees, you could instead get the top-end variant of the OnePlus Nord, which comes with 12GB of RAM and 256GB of storage. Now throw in the 90Hz display and OnePlus's reputation for updates, and you have a product that's pretty hard to beat. If you're looking for a mid-range 5G smartphone that's not a OnePlus Nord for whatever reason, then I would recommend the V20 Pro as a very good alternative. So that's been it for my review of this phone. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. And as always, for all things tech, log on to gadgets360.com.